Welcome back everyone. Today we will be discussing the Jordan 1 Patent Bred. Specifically, we will be discussing some release info, how to cop, and of course, some resale predictions at the end of the video. The Jordan 1 Patent Bred releases on December 30th, although they already did drop some via exclusive access in Europe and US. Retail is $170 for men's, $130 for grade school, $80 for preschool, and $60 for toddler. Stock between all sizes combined worldwide is just over 140,000 pairs. Compared to the recent Jordan 11 and Yeezy Beluga, this stock may seem small, but this is actually just slightly above average stock for a Jordan 1. For example, the Atmosphere Pinks had about 120,000 pairs. Now that doesn't mean that these will be an easy cop by any means, however, as demand on these is absolutely insane. Of this stock, about 20,000 men's pairs have already released through exclusive access, and about 5,000 of the grade school pairs. Regarding resale, we will cover that towards the end of the video, as always. With the release info out of the way though, let's jump into how to cop these Jordan 1 Patent Breds. Specifically, for this how to cop, we'll be going in chronological order along with exactly how to efficiently manage your time and set up for this drop, since a lot will be going on at once. Prior to discussing the first come first serve online drops though, make sure to follow my Twitter, KeithAdam10, and personals for you for any urgent updates on these, such as the exclusive access drops that already occurred. Also, for all folks from Europe or UK, the Endurance Europe raffle is open now and will close tomorrow. Make sure to get your entries in via the Endurance Twitter. Also, please make sure that you don't forget to sign up for the Flex app reservations. This is one of the best ways to get pairs, as well as asking your local foot stores about their procedure for leftover pairs. And now, in addition to the in-store reservations, they are now doing online reservations too. However, if you do have the ability to pick up in-store, I'd strongly suggest in-store, unless you live in a very densely populated area like New York City, as your chances of winning will often be higher for in-store. Now, moving on to the online first come first serve sites, we'll start with US sites in chronological order, and then we'll move on to Europe sites afterwards. At 8 AM Eastern Time, we may be seeing Undefeated drop, unless they do announce a drop for 11 AM Eastern Time, which they did do recently. Before this time, make sure you are signed into your Undefeated account, as it is required for this site to check out. Be ready to solve a checkpoint captcha as well. If you don't have access to a Shopify monitor, you could try refreshing the search page for AJ1 High, but your chances of copying here will be slim. Now, moving on to the confirmed 10 AM Eastern Time drops, this is where the actual fun begins as usual. Since there's a lot to focus on, I'm going to guide you and suggest to you how to efficiently manage your time. First, I would suggest going for Hibbett as your first come first serve choice at exactly 10 AM Eastern Time, since Hibbett will sell out quickly. This is what I've been suggesting recently, and it's been going very well, so we won't change this just yet. You might get the press and hold captcha loop, so just some tips to prevent this loop, just like we discussed in the prior how to cop guide. Go on to the coming soon page before the drop on the Hibbett calendar. Right before 10 AM hits, click on the Jordan 1, then scroll down slowly until you see the sizes. If you scroll too quickly, you'll likely end up getting caught in that captcha loop. My biggest advice in general here is to use Apple Pay on your mobile device for the most efficient checkout. Or as an alternative to Hibbett, you could also choose one or two Shopify sites to focus on at exactly 10 AM Eastern Time, since those will also sell out the quickest. If I had to choose two for you guys, I would normally suggest Shop Nice Kicks and Shoe Palace, since they get pretty high stock and also have a checkpoint. And in fact, the reason I'm not suggesting these sites this time isn't because of the high shipping, because these pairs are actually going to perform very well, but rather it's the fact that they only appear to have the grade school pairs loaded up. Hence, instead, I'd suggest going for DTLR as your alternative, since they have the men's sizes listed, unlike those two sites, along with Jimmy Jazz, which also only has grade school listed at the moment. Kith should also be dropping both pairs, so if anything, I'd suggest going for either of these two. Just remember that both of these sites are going to be extremely difficult to cop off of, as will probably Hibbett too, but Hibbett, in my opinion, will be your better chance. So in conclusion, your 10 AM first come first serve drop should be Hibbett, but these are your two alternatives if you do desire. Now, right after those first come first serve drops are over, or even while you're waiting in a Shopify queue, I want you guys to enter in as many sneakers accounts into the drop as possible. Now, this is going to be your #1 chance by far for copping these. But now, what's the most efficient way to cop off of Nike sneakers manually? Well, these are loaded as a Dan drop at the moment. Dan drops are also known as draws. You essentially have 10 minutes to enter in as many of your accounts into the raffle as possible. Evidently, the more you can enter within that period, the better your chances will be. I actually made a full in-depth video regarding this, which I'd highly suggest watching because there is much more to it. If you guys do need to make more accounts, remember that Nike does require SMS verification, so you can't use the same phone number twice. You will have to ask a friend of yours to use their phone number and ask them for the verification code. However, if you'd rather not bother your friends, or you just want a significant amount of pre-verified Nike sneakers accounts in general, feel free to check out my site TARS. The link for that is in the description below. For pre-verified Nike sneakers and Adidas accounts. Now, after Nike sneakers, you normally want to shift your focus onto periodically checking Finish Line Qs and JD Sports and Snipes to see if you have past Q, but like many recent drops, Finish Line did unfortunately do exclusive access, so there's a good chance no stock will be dropping online. However, Snipes should definitely be dropping. If you pass Q manually here, it's definitely possible manually, but passing is the hard part, of course. In Gargantua, AIO, and Endurance, we get bypass links, so it's often a manual cookout, but it's still possible to pass naturally. Make sure to follow the Endurance Twitter, though, and Gargantua AIO Twitter if you are interested in restocks, however. As of now, Snipes does not have them added on the calendar, but I do fully expect them to load as we do approach the drop as usual. You can also try carding on foot sites in between this, but this is almost definitely a fruitless endeavor. It was already near impossible to cop here manually, but now that they're offering the shipping via the Flex app reservations, there's been even less stock allotted to the online releases, so it's up to you if you want to give it a try. I guess it won't hurt. Make sure to set up all of these tabs beforehand. You should set them up as soon as you see my account or personals for you tweet at the links. This way, they're already ready to go and waiting in queue after Nike sneakers. Just keep in mind, copy manually off of foot sites is near impossible, but Snipes is certainly very possible. Now, that'll conclude it for the US sites, so now moving on to Europe. Although many Europe retailers are doing raffles, there's still some first come first serve drops to prepare for. The best drop for Europe would be Nike sneakers at 9 AM CET. These are loaded as a Dan drop for Europe as well, also known as a draw, which we discussed earlier. Since this is a draw, you won't need to prioritize the site at exactly 9 AM CET. Instead, I'd suggest focusing on a first come first serve site of your choice, then going back to sneakers right after. So for example, for a first come first serve, it's extremely likely that Soulbox and Snipes will both be dropping at 9 AM CET as usual. If you do have access to a Soulbox and Snipes monitor, you definitely have a decent chance of copying here. Sometimes they tend to drop at 50, which is 10 minutes before 9 AM. Similar to Hibbett, you should also try to generate some activity on the site beforehand to reduce the Perimeter X capsule loops. The same goes for both of these sites. Zalando and Courier should also be dropping, but they have not loaded just yet. Then Offspring may potentially drop too. For Offspring, I would suggest enabling post notifications for their Instagram if you don't have access to a monitor. They normally don't drop at 9 AM whenever they do end up dropping, so no need to focus on here at exactly 9 AM either. Foot Locker should also be dropping too, but for some reason, as of now, they're actually not loaded on the calendar. Hypothetically, if they do get loaded on the calendar, which I'm assuming they will, try to use multiple Chrome users to pass Q, but once you do pass Q, even carding is going to be near impossible here, so don't count your chickens on this site, of course. That will be it for the how to cop portion of the video. Now with the how to cop out of the way, let's move on to the resale predictions. First of all, stock on these is just above average stock for a Jordan 1 high. Don't get your hopes up though, as this certainly does not mean that they'll be any easier whatsoever. Demand on these is absolutely insane, significantly more than Jordan 1 atmospheres that we recently discussed, and that demand was already quite high. While the current sale volume, still days out from the drop, is absolutely insane, it is still not as impressive as the Cool Grays pre-drop, but nonetheless, it is still extremely high and not too far off, especially given the higher pre-sale. Overall, you can expect these to be very profitable with a great margin in all sizes. These are a full throttle without a doubt. As for selling or holding, make sure to subscribe, as I'll definitely be making a seller hold video the day before the drop. Anyway, that'll conclude it for today. Feel feel free to leave a like if you enjoyed, or perhaps if you learned a thing or two. Remember, if you're from Europe or UK, the Endurance raffle is open on Twitter. Make sure to enter before it does close later today. Subscribe and enable push notifications. This way you're 100% updated on every hype sneaker. Also, feel free to check out the links in the description below for reliable, fast, residential proxies and pre-verified Nike sneakers or Adidas accounts. Also, follow Endurance's Twitter for updates on restocks or key giveaways, and the same goes for Gargantua if you want to keep up with the progress or restocks. Last but not least, make sure to follow Keith Adam 10 and Personals for you so you guys stay updated on all urgent info like I was discussing today. With that though, I will see you guys later. Have a fantastic rest of your day, and of course, good luck on this release.